Who is someone that was mocked at the moment, but then proven right years later? Joseph Lister first proposed that germs caused postoperative infections, and recommended that surgical instruments be sterilized between operations. People thought he was nuts. John Ray, very skilled Arctic explorer who, unlike most of the rest of Europeans at the time, wasn't above learning from the Inuit. He was largely successful because of his willingness to learn from them and use their clothing in diet and techniques. Anyway, about 10 years after the Franklin expedition was lost, John Ray was out looking for clues. What happened because the British Admiralty had a standing reward of £10,000 for anyone who had credible information about the expedition's fate. He found some physical remnants of the expedition and had met with Inuit who'd seen some of the last surviving members of the expedition. They related to him how they'd been taken by disease, lack of food, and how some of them finally succumbed to cannibalism. Ray took this information back to England, where society was absolutely outraged how he dared to spin such drivel. Surely no sophisticated gentleman of the hero's character that would be in Sir John Franklin's expedition would act so savagely. John Ray never got the award. Years later someone else did, who told of a story that was correct also to some degree, but less than Ray had been. In modern times, bone fragments have been found with telltale cut marks, thereby proving John Ray and the Inuit right. Lindy Chamberlain. A dingo really did eat her baby. Sad face. Ignác Semmelweis. First doctor to champion handwashing as a means to prevent spreading infection. Everyone made fun of him. John Snow in 1854 tried to tell everyone about cholera and how it was being caused by the water supply. No one believed him until he took illegal action and saved many lives. Greg Lamonde. In 2001, he said Lance Armstrong was probably doping. He was threatened. He took a huge image hit and his business opportunities suffered. He never let up on Lance despite the media campaigns, threats, damage to his reputation and business, and the recrimination of his peers in the cycling community. Until surprise surprise in 2012 it came out that Lance Armstrong was doping. Who could have foreseen that? If only someone had told us. Oh wait, Greg Lamonde did. A decade ago. Dr. Bennett Omalu, who found that American football players had chronic traumatic encephalopathy, brain concussions which were slowly affecting their neurological and psychological functions. He was strongly opposed at first but then proved right. His biographic movie is named Concussion. Alexander Fleming, the man who discovered penicillin, spent almost 10 years trying to convince the medical bodies of his time that it was worth investing time and resources to experiment with it, but was basically told to pound sand despite the respect he had prior to the discovery. Lot of good it did me. I was lucky enough to be born allergic. Happy for the rest of you at least. Jack Layton. Early on in the Afghanistan war, when the Taliban had been largely beaten and splintered into several small groups, many of them leaderless and wanting a way out, Jack suggested negotiating with these groups to end the war. The Conservative government of Canada labelled him Taliban Jack, and he was widely ridiculed. Had they negotiated back in 2005-2006, there would have been a lot less lives lost, and an opportunity to create a lasting change in Afghanistan. Courtney Love on Weinstein. That kid that was crying about how they were treating Britney Spears. Carl Woese and the discovery of the third domain of life, archaebacteria. https://en.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/3-domain system. Courtney Love in 2005 when she stated, "If Harvey Weinstein invites you to a private party at the Four Seasons, don't go." Quote. Corey Feldman was ridiculed for talking about the abuse he suffered in Hollywood, and it wasn't even a shock. It was obvious that kinda shit was going down. Sherry Rowland discovered the effect of CFCs on ozone depletion and received an immense level of blowback from industry. Not only that, but invited talks and collabs were rescinded within the scientific community. Poor guy was ostracized. 20 years later, after his and Melina's discovery, he's finally recognized with a Nobel Prize. Stella Liebeck, the lady who got burned with McDonald's hot coffee. The media mocked her and accused her of a frivolous lawsuit, but it was an ongoing problem that McDonald's served dangerously hot coffees that had injured many others. The coffee was hot enough to cause third-degree burns to her pelvic region, and she was hospitalized for 8 days while she had to get skin grafts and continued medical care for 2 years related to the burns. She originally just wanted her medical bills covered, but McDonald's tried giving her an insultingly low amount. So then she was forced to open a lawsuit. The courts rightfully sided with her and forced McDonald's to regulate the temperature on their hot beverages. Edit to add severity of her burns in medical care. Edit. Many people have pointed out that McDonald's purposely made their coffees way too hot to save money by preventing refills and preventing having to make fresh coffee throughout the day, and that they still serve coffee way hotter than other places. Courtney Love and Rose McGowan about Weinstein. Johnny Rotten, banned from the BBC for ousting Jimmy Savile as being a horrendous pedophile. Some 500 cases of abuse. Had his own set of keys to a psychiatric hospital where he would frequently abuse vulnerable children. Johnny Rotten on Jimmy Savile. Taken from Wikipedia.com. Jimmy Savile abuse scandal. Edit. In a 1978 BBC Radio 1 interview, Layton alluded to the sexual abuses committed by Jimmy Savile and mainstream social forces' suppression of negative information about him. Decades before it became a public scandal, Layton stated, "I'd like to kill Jimmy Savile. I think he's a hypocrite. I bet he's into all kinds of seediness that we all know about, but are not allowed to talk about. I know some rumors." He added, "I bet none of this will be allowed out." 87. After the interviewer suggested libel might be an issue, Layton replied, "Nothing I've said is libel." 88. As Layton predicted, the comment was edited out by the BBC before broadcast. The complete interview was included as a bonus track on a re-release of Public Image. First issue in 2013. After Savile's death. 89. In October 2014, Layton said that, "Why killed I meant locking him up and stopping him assaulting young children. I'm disgusted at the media pretending they weren't aware." 90. Layton claimed that the BBC blacklisted him following the interview, and remained very, very bitter that the likes of Savile and the rest of them were allowed to continue. 91. Edited to add 2 paragraphs from Wikipedia referencing Johnny Rotten attempting to expose Jimmy Savile as a child abuser in 1978. The doctor in China who was arrested for trying to stop the spread of COVID from the start.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.